evening. Good evening. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White, our Wednesday evening edition of Detroit in Black and White. Uh, First, I'm going to introduce the co-host, Jim Nardone, the former chief of police in Trenton, Michigan. Good morning, Jim. Good evening, Jim. I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on morning. Good
Good
evening.
evening.
And we also have Allan Lengel, formerly of, well, you still write for the Washington Post from time
Here and
to time,
there, here and there.
and the owner of Deadline Detroit, Mr. Allan. We also dub him as Eastside Al. Uh, what's up, Allan?
Not much. Good evening.
Good evening. And of course, Adolph, I don't know if he's going to join today. I talked to him earlier today. He's doing well. He wasn't sure whether or not he was going to come on today, but we're going to hold down the fort. He is still convalescing. You also have myself, Vanessa Moss. Sometimes I'm a stuff starter. Sometimes I shake the room, and sometimes I'm very calm. But I am happy to be here this evening. I want to say good evening to all those that are joining us on social media. You know what we want you to do. We want you to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. We want you to tell all your friends about the greatest show on these YouTube streets. You could join us on every social media platform. You can also join us every Wednesday and Friday evening from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. and every Saturday mornings from 10 to 11. You can also join us in the comment section. You can join us as co-hosts. Welcome, Detroit in Black and White.
All right.
All right. You want to start off, Allan? I'm going to let you start.
I think the most obvious, I think a lot of people, what's on people's mind is yesterday's election. Was absolutely no surprise. I know a lot of times some of the people diss the polls, but the poll, the one poll, I think it was Detroit News, WDIV, had Mary up by about 50 percentage points, and she actually won by a little more than that. I think it was, 77 to 23 percent. So it was. I think part of it was like she had the name recognition. She had the platform, being president, and she got started a lot earlier. Her campaign was a lot more organized. I don't think, I think it was up for grabs for a while. I mean, in terms of, I think the businesses weren't all pouring money into her campaign until it looked inevitable that she was going to win. So Kinloch started out much earlier, and he ran out of money. He also, and money isn't everything, but it helps to have your name out there. And so I think she won. I mean, yesterday she had a big, celebration at the MGM, and it's great.
Bro, you want to talk about that celebration? Because you said I didn't watch anything.
Yeah.
I was in bed before 8 o'clock last night. I was so tired. My phone started ringing. Can you believe? I'll talk about my issue with the whole thing, but so I didn't see anything until today, and I saw a celebratory dance, and I saw the message that you sent us. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but
look, I mean, we have to all hope as Detroiters that she does a great job. I think what's a little disturbing is that, I mean, at the tail end of the campaign, it came out initially Charlie LaDuff broke the story, and then Deadline, and then some of the other publications picked up that she had a relationship, at least that we know, in 2019, and she was approving what turns out to be more than $4 million in contracts involving that person she was having a relationship with. Yet her chief of staff came out and issued a statement saying that Mary turned down all the contracts that came before, which to me is like, don't start pulling a Donald Trump where you just try to run over and then you diss. Like her father put out a message saying, I forgive basically, you know, the
Good
the the
question.
reporter. I forgive the reporter for what? For telling the truth, and your daughter, at least or chief of staff misleading people. You forgive that. I mean, it switches the table around. We want transparency. We want honest government, and she's going to get if she thinks. To me, she had a question over. She says in 2019 she questioned whether should disclose the relationship when she was voting. To me, it's like if you've got to ask that question, then you may be ethically challenged. If you don't know the answer to that, the answer is you recuse yourself. It's obvious. It's government 101. So I'm a little concerned about their attitude if they're going to come after the press for reporting the truth. Uh, I get it. Look, she deserves to have hopefully a clean slate when she gets in there. And I hope, look, as a Detroiter, I want her to do well, but I also want her to be honest and I want her to be transparent. So
What do you have to say, Jim? Because I got a whole lot to say. What
Well,
do
the
you have
people
to
have
say?
spoken, right? They
Mhm.
elected mayor-elect is mayor-elect Sheffield, and I know Allan called her Mary. I don't want to call her Mary anymore. We don't call Mike Duggan. We don't Mike.
I
Typically,
do.
you may, yeah, you may. You have a closer relationship with them than that.
Well,
I'm not trying to be. She's mayor-elect Sheffield, and there's just one to me, she's
yeah.
earned that title. I guess is where I'm coming from, as not somebody that's engaged with her as much. I mean, I met her when she came on the show, but she is the mayor-elect, and she deserves that recognition. Horace Sheffield is not the mayor of Detroit. He's never been elected to the mayor. You can fill out your own truths when it comes to that, but she deserves an opportunity to lead. I agree with you. She needs to be transparent, and we haven't seen very good examples of that yet. She needs to be transparent. She has the opportunity to move this community forward. Jamie Dimon was interviewing with CNN, I saw a little earlier today, and he was touting, Detroit and Mike Duggan and everything that's been going on in Detroit. For those, Jamie Dimon is the CEO of what is it?
Chase Bank.
Chase, the finance company.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Somebody here mentioned and said, well, what about Duggan and his side piece who we end up marrying or whatever? The Free Press for probably 2 years was reporting on what he helped. Basically, for those who don't know, he helped fund. I can't remember what it was. It was basically a medical program to help people uh, uh, with births, in the city. And it ends up that the woman who was directing it was somebody that he was having an affair with, which the Free Press reported the hell out of it for 2 years. So I don't think he got a free ride on that. When people always say, "Oh, Mike Duggan didn't get," Charlie LaDuff, which he worked for Deadline Detroit for 4 years. He wrote endlessly about the dirt and Duggan and investigations into Duggan. So it's not that it was totally ignored, but the media, all in all, look, has not done a great job of covering government in the last several years because there's not a lot of resources there.
MZ Suzuki. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vanessa.
So I want to weigh in, and then we could address some of the co-hosts. First of all, congratulations! Look, the race is over, and we have a new mayor elect, it's Mary Sheffield. I posted this morning, and I post, but I usually don't post a lot about my personal feelings about who I support, who I don't support, or anything like that. But what I said was, congratulations. Now the work, and I capitalized the word work. Now the work begins. Work for the people, especially those that did not participate. They need to know that you work for, hold on a minute, that you work for, that you work for all of us, the people. And I mean that. We heard a lot in this campaign season about the three towns: downtown, midtown, and I forgot what the other town, Corktown. We heard a lot about the neighborhoods not being addressed for 12 years or 14 years, if you want to count the time that the outgoing mayor has been in office. Um, we've heard a lot about poverty. We heard a lot about the lack of education. And so there is a lot of work to be done. I said this a few weeks ago that whoever becomes the victor, it's not time to celebrate. It really isn't, because we have a whole host of issues. There's some progress that has been made, but we have a whole host of issues. And Detroit looks completely different. I'm talking about the finances, the demographics, the makeup is completely different. And America has changed a whole lot since the time Duggan came into office and the time that he's leaving. And so I submit that the work starts now, and the work needs to resonate in all of us, because there were a lot of people who did not participate. You had over 500,000 people that are registered as voters in the city of Detroit, and just a little over 100,000 people participated.
20%.
That's it. That's not a lot, and that's nothing to celebrate. And what it says to me is this: a lot of people that are registered have checked out. They don't have confidence and faith in these politicians at all. They were not motivated to go and participate. There was no movement. And the things have to change. We can't just tell people to go and vote. Not only tell them they vote, they need to be informed, but they need to be motivated. They need to believe that their voice, in fact, makes a difference. So that's my commentary on that.
Sure.
If Mayor Sheffield wins, then Detroiters should win. Then Metro Detroit should win. So I wish her nothing but success, because if she's successful, then we're successful. And we all have to work together. Whether I like you or not, whether I voted for you or not, it doesn't matter. The name calling needs to stop. I posted something, what I posted this morning, called the opponent, a name. Stop it. Stop the cap. First of all, was a lie, but stop the cap. That's ridiculous. We will never be able to move forward if we continue on that trajectory. That's my opinion.
Someone asked a question, will she keep the police chief? She's been on her show saying that she plans to, she's not obligated to. As I say, I was out yesterday interviewing people during election day over on Warren near I-75. And I was surprised by some of the people who said, when I asked, there were some people voting for Kinloch. There were more people saying they're voting for Mary Sheffield, or mayor-elect.
Sorry.
No. And
it wasn't directed at you.
If I see her in person, I'll call her mayor. I'm not gonna, but Mike, same thing, Mike Duggan. I'll call him mayor or whatever. But I was surprised by some people who said, I voted for Mary because I don't believe in politics and religion should mix. And
that's a hypocrite.
I had several people tell me that.
Obviously they're not informed, because she's a minister as well. That's just,
well, I think the Reverend's identity is locked to. He's the pastor of the church. Saying. She is by whatever documentation, but that's not her practice. She's not preaching it. She's not she doesn't have a church. But I was surprised by that. But also another two people told me that during the WXYZ debate, one of the things that stuck out in particular was how they answered the question about the National Guard. People said Mary was very firm. No, we don't want the National Guard. Kinloch originally said, well, maybe in really troubled spots. And then afterwards he said, no, I meant to say never. And one woman said, well, he was very wishy-washy on that. I didn't like that. So it's interesting to get people's reasonings for, and some people just said, I want a woman. I think it's time for a woman. I think Mary's great. I trust her. She has great ideas. And so you know,
We're going to go to break and we're going to pick back up with our guests. And I'm going to pick up on the comment about uh, a, a woman serving as the mayor of the city of Detroit. Detroit Black and White, our Wednesday evening editions. We're going to go to break and we'll be back.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure? Or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation. The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
We're back in Detroit Black and White, our Wednesday evening editions. We're going to go back to some, we're going to go to some of, acknowledge some of our co-hosts. First of all, I'd like to, why is mine is not, you may have to take over, Jim, because I can't.
Okay, from the bottom up, I'm going to work us backward. Eric Brown, history means nothing unless there are results. Ask Lori Lightfoot, Keisha Lance Bottoms, or Mayor Bass out in LA. Absolutely, Eric. Kenneth Reed, what I saw was the Sheffield campaign was better organized. I noticed how they're able to crunch the numbers. They were better organized. They had the cash. National Guards are needed in cases of citywide riots, such as was in 1968. Mr. 1213, hello to you. G Money Hollywood, first was Irma Henderson, who paved the way. Sharon McPhail was a failure. She was a brilliant lady, Sharon McPhail. I don't know what happened. She kind of lost her way. Mary crossed the finish line. History was made in Detroit. Absolutely, G Money Hollywood. Terry H. 77. Seems to be an improvement in policing. Ira Todd, just join you all napping and nursing this hip. I hope your hip's okay there, Ira. Good to see you. We look forward to seeing you too. Will Mary come on the show again? FBA convo. That we don't know. People would have voted Eric Brown if she ran a strategic campaign more than 20. Yeah, I don't know what she could have done to push the voter. She won big. The police chief question, as she says she will, it's kind of tough. I kind of feel for the chief. Hopefully, she understands how important he is and they can move on with him. It was a pure beatdown, G Money. The race was over before either of them had a chance to take the ring. I think she ran a strategic campaign. She was certainly in the faces of Detroiters more than Kinloch. G Money Hollywood, thank you. 4116, Terry H. 77. A narcissism and arrested development, lack of participation in labor unions, 80% not participating, speaks to no belief in City Hall improving things. That may be a bigger issue. I agree with that. But if you don't feel like your vote counts, why bother voting? And I think there's a lot of that in a lot of places, not just Detroit.
Absolutely.
Partly a lack of education may be tied to genetics, Terry H. 77. I do want to see who's on the transition team. Kenneth Reed, our old friend. I, too, am anxious to see what staff she puts together. Southwest Detroit is good with Hispanic and Arabic immigrants, family-oriented, community-minded. That's the place to live, according to Terry H. 77. Trust me, the FBI will be watching over her every move. I'm sure they already are. I think we should talk about that, Terry. I think that's an important point.
So we also have on my phone, people are texting. We have Mr. Evans. He said meaning Mayor Sheffield, needs to clean house from top to bottom with new people. I do see that Mr. Hollowell, who comes from the Duggan days, is part of her transitioning team. So for those people who say, hey, we were hoping that this is Mayor Sheffield's show, not a continuation of Duggan's show, we will see. Now, speaking of the fact that she has made history, she is the first female mayor of the city of Detroit. when this race began, I was really excited because we had two women in the race, and the prospect of us possibly having a woman as the mayor of the city of Detroit was very exciting to me. So I know there are a lot of women that are excited about that.
Right.
In terms of organization, I will say that she came out very early. Adolph talked about that a long time ago, how she came out very, very early with the exploratory committee. I don't know if you guys remember that. That was like over 2 years ago. That was the signal that she was running. Um, Pastor Kinlock, I think that that he had a couple of false starts. I just think that he had the wrong people in the beginning from the very start, uh, helping him with this campaign.
Can I get a
I think that the things that he pointed on, that he campaigned on, I think those were very those things are very important, and I think it resonated with people, but not enough to move people to say, "Hey, let me go ahead and support him."
Alan?
Do
Can I
I
just
think it's the end of
Go ahead.
Pastor Kinlock?
Go ahead,
I
Joe.
absolutely do not.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I
go
just
ahead, Alan.
I just want to get a couple quick comments before we move on.
All
Mhm.
right.
Mary goes into office with a mandate. Kenneth Reed, FBO Convo. Congrats, Mary. I know you'll do well as mayor. And good evening from Hazel Park from FBA Convo. Kenneth, good evening. Janet, overall, thank you, Janet, for your comments. Lots to discuss. Is it, and that's Jan, my friend Jan. Lots to discuss. Is it too early to put up Christmas decorations? I want to get right back
No,
to the beginning. I'm sorry, but our colleagues out there, they spend a lot of time and effort on this show. I don't want to ignore them. Thank you.
mhm.
Alan?
Thank you.
Sorry.
I want to say first of all, I think Santil probably would have conducted a better campaign, even though she only got 16% compared to 17%. I think she had experience running campaigns. I think she could have stepped it up more than he did. I think the one thing that he maybe was a little naive about is that he thought he had the base there. He had this huge congregation, all these people in the congregation, assuming he would get all these votes and that would sort of metastasize into the city and he would blow it up. He started with really what I see as 17%. She started with 51%, and he didn't build on that. Really, that 17% was baked in, and he really wasn't able to really expand on it a lot. She was able to expand on it a little more, and thus we had this huge. It was a landslide. I think he was naive. I think he was naive about politics, about campaigning. And, in the end, he did not run an incredibly effective campaign, and Mary did. And Mary's is, she's been around the block. She's gone through two major campaigns, and this was her third. And she,
And let's keep in mind, the first time she ran for office, she did not prevail. I mean, this is his first time running for office. He didn't prevail. That does not mean that this is the end of his political career. I will say this, and I've been very transparent. I'm a member of Triumph Church. I joined in 2000. I got divorced in 2010. No, 27. I joined in 2010. So I've been a member for quite a long period of time. I've always said that even with such a large membership, most of the members did not live in the city of Detroit. I was one of them. I moved back into the city of Detroit 5 years ago, but up until 5 years ago, I lived in the suburbs. So a lot of the members maybe were born like Jim, like myself, were born in the city of Detroit, but moved out of the city of Detroit. And so, if, and I'm not saying, I'm not speaking for him, I don't know if that was his assumption or not, but if that was the assumption, it was not a good assumption because, like I said, most of the people did not even live in the city of Detroit. So, again, I think that this is just the beginning of his political career. I think that he has learned a lot. Um, and I thought that his speech afterwards not only was respectful, he was very gracious as far as I'm concerned. Um, that stuff that I'm disappointed, and I know Horace Sheffield. I couldn't believe he posted that on social media. Listen, we gotta
Why don't
rise
you
above
tell
the petty.
people? Tell people what he
Uh,
posted.
the pettiness. He says I will read it directly because I mean he put it out there, so I'm going to read it.
Mhm.
He said, along with him messing with uh, Eric a few weeks ago, I'm like, come on now, you won. He said, I have been deliberately quiet, so the voice we heard was Mary's. So today, let me break that silence. First, to Pastor Kinlock, with whom I've had a long and good relationship. I salute you and encourage you to continue to serve as relentlessly now as you have. To those who sacrificed, contributed, and supported my daughter, thank you and bless you. To others who ministered to me as others attempted to harm Mary and malign me, know that your prayers and concern upheld me. Help me, bless me, and I say thank you. Finally, to the two, to the two, uh, to the two, one a journalist and the other a retired police officer, neither of whom live in Detroit, who were intentionally vile and vicious. I forgive you and continue to pray for you and others like you. Last night's result is proof that no weapon formed will ever prosper. Obviously, God has something else in mind. God bless.
Who's the police officer? I think the
I
journalist.
think it's John Bennett. A matter of fact, I'm almost positive it was
All
John
right.
Bennett.
Okay.
And John, of course, responded because John and I are friends on Facebook as well. And he responded and basically said, if you come, I didn't send for you, but if you come for me, okay, fine, here I am. But this kind of stuff, and you are a seasoned individual and a pastor of a church. I just think it was very petty. I'm like, stop it. She won. You are a proud father, as you should be. You should be proud of the success that your daughter has made. Rise above that.
And
It
Ira,
was so
doing this,
unnecessary.
and Ira's pointed out he's protecting his daughter, and FBA Convo said the same thing. He said nothing wrong. I don't necessarily have a problem with what he said. I don't know if I would have done it if I were him. He won, like you said, but he didn't say anything too disrespectful. I think he's protect. Go ahead, Allan.
No, I don't think it was anything really offensive. I think what I do take a little umbrage with is that he's attacking, particularly Charlie LaDuff, who did a legitimate story about his daughter having a major conflict of interest, and he's trying to say, no matter how evil you are. Well, the media is really, people fault the media for not doing enough about people's backgrounds and stuff like that. And look, all in all, the media did a horrible job of covering this campaign and giving both sides of digging in more with Kinlock and digging in more with Mary Sheffield. And so when somebody does dig up something, which was a major conflict of interest, and part of that is not even the horribleness of the conflict of interest, but it's a response where they lie and say they didn't approve any contracts when she approved over $4 million in just 1 year, I think.
And so here's the rub. Listen, I understand that's your daughter, and you're going to protect. You're going to take her for your daughter. Sure. But she won. Is it necessary? No, she won. And to me, it came across as petty. I expect more from him.
But look at the medium. It's Facebook. It's an international sewing circle. That's what Facebook is. It's gossip. Who gives a flying? Who cares? It's Facebook. He's not telling the Detroit News that he's mad at two guys. He's on his.
If he could tell the Detroit news, he would.
But Facebook, but Tim,
After this show, he might text me and tell me off. I mean,
the
seriously.
thing is, social media for the media is often a reference where, you know, we get, look, how many times does Trump go on Truth Social and he makes a comment and it's on CNN, it's on the New York Times and stuff like that. So we can't underplay really.
Right.
Generally ignorant comments, though.
No. I mean, we can't totally minimize it because you know, the press sometimes out of laziness, it's easy fishing to go to social media sites, to go to X or whatever, and people are making statements, and those statements end up being put into stories. So,
and the reality is this: one of our co-hosts, I don't know which one, because for some reason my comments aren't coming up. They said that Mayor Sheffield is a public figure. She's going to be subjected to ridicule. It comes with the territory. We talk about this all the time. The good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. It's going to happen. And so I personally expect more from Dad. I do. Okay. Right. So I
mean, it could have been worse. It could have been, he could have put a curse on Charlie LaDuff and John Bennett and said, you know, may you whatever. So he was trying to take the high road, even though it was a sort of a backhanded, like, screw you guys.
How is the high road is a backhand slap? It can't be both at the same time.
Well,
it cannot.
He's trying to take the high road, but it's, you know, he's taking a shot at them. He's saying,
and Tamika's right on. You know,
they're all what you did.
They're all thin-skinned, and they're going to have to toughen their skin up a little bit. Thank you, Tamika.
Right.
LaDuff's comments made it to the mainstream broadcast and print media. Eric Brown, just barely, Eric. It's not national news. Nobody's talking about the contract, the money, and, you know, it's there, but it's not front page news. Ira says it's politics. Absolutely. I don't have a problem.
I'll tell you, nobody that I spoke to yesterday brought up anything about the contracts with Mary. Nobody said, you know, the people who said they're voting for Kinloch just said, I think he's done a lot in the community. I think he deserves a shot at it. One woman said, either way, I'll be happy, but I voted for Kinloch. If Mary wins, that's okay. So nobody brought up the contract thing. So I thought it was interesting that it didn't really have a lot of traction with the voters.
Well, isn't it nice that you heard people say, and I've met people, I know people personal who says, look, either way, I'll be okay. I'm not going to die if my candidate didn't make it. And so that, to me, that speaks volumes about the company that we're in. Like I said, it's over. The work really begins. Celebrating, yeah, okay, I worked hard for it. I got it. Great. That's your last 5 minutes. The work began. If they call the race at 9:15, really the work should have started at 10 o'clock last night, as far as I'm concerned.
I was shocked.
A lot of issues, okay? I don't know. I was asleep.
I was shocked how early the projection came at around 9:15. I was shocked that actually the city of Detroit was able to get the votes together that early, because usually we don't see the votes till later, later in the evening. But it was shocking how quickly they called the race. But you could see it was already a 50 percentage point spread early on, and it never changed.
Yeah. Somebody says the contract situation became a non-factor when the same article stated that Mary herself saw ethical consideration on the matter through the ethics board. They told her she did not have to recuse. Well, if you got to question it, as far as I'm concerned, that for me is a red flag. If you have to question it, what's interesting is what happens moving forward. How kind is the media going to be to her now that she's the mayor-elect? Everything that she do moving forward, everything is going to be scrutinized. Everything.
Well, I think, the interesting thing was both candidates pretty much got a free ride. And then it was just in the last week. And now I think there's reporters working on other things. and
Mhm.
I think we're going to see other things coming up. And so it came too late, really. I mean, we should have had this back in January, where, I mean, she was declared, I mean, both candidates should be turned upside down. The Metro Times had some stories about Kinloch, which I don't know that were really fair. I looked into those same stories and did not publish something because I'm not sure what the allegations were really accurate allegations, but everyone should know what's going on with each candidate as much as we can tell. But so
And
what?
Annie Lewis says she won. Silence speaks volume.
Yeah.
And Annie Lewis has a point. I mean, we elected Donald Trump twice.
Hmm.
So whether the voters are right or wrong, that's beside the point here. She is the mayor-elect. And like Tamika said, she wants what's best for the community, for this city. I agree with Tamika. Let's give her a chance. She is the mayor-elect.
Yeah, I don't understand if there's anybody out there that is a viewer of Detroit Black and White that wants her to fail. I'm sorry, something's wrong with you. Okay. We want her to win because if she wins, we win. And I say I'm saying Detroiters, period. Okay. East side, west side, northwest, southwest, midtown.
I agree with Ira. Let's give her a chance, but
Mhm.
let's also let her know that we have high expectations, and the high expectations
Absolutely.
are in terms of performance, in terms of transparency, in terms of honesty. We expect that. That's where the bar is, and when you fall short of that, I think people are entitled to speak up.
I want to ask you a question, but we're going to go to break and I'm going to ask you a question because it was something that you said about some other stories coming out. So I want to ask you about that. We're going to go to break and then we'll come back. Detroit in Black and White.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
We're back, Detroit in Black and White, our Wednesday evening editions. You know what? I forgot, and I have forgotten for the last few weeks. We got to give out a shout out to our Facebookers. There are people that are joining the show via Facebook. We always read the comments from those people that are on YouTube, but I want to say thank you. We want to say thank you so much for joining us on Facebook. We want to say thank you again for joining us on any of the social media platforms. And we especially thank you for commenting. And we're going to give you a real special thanks when you hit that like, subscribe button and tell all your friends about Detroit in Black and White. So, Allan, my question to you is, you said that there are some other stories that's coming out now that she's been elected as mayor. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. She's the mayor. What impact do you think it will have on people that supported the mayor elect?
I think unless people are, like I say, the voters I spoke to, none of them mentioned the contract stuff. I think people are going to be fairly forgiving for a while. And if she produces results, I think they'll be totally forgiving of that. People who didn't, look, there's whatever it was, 23% voted for Kinloch. Are they, some of those people probably were okay, even if Mary won. Some of them may have said, I would never vote for her. I mean, we have viewers here who sometimes say, no way for Mary or whatever. And the same thing with Kinloch. And so I think, I hope, some of the stuff comes out now so that she doesn't walk in with a cloud over her head. But I hope that she's put on notice that we expect transparent government, that we don't want all her buddies in there who may not have the competence to hold certain positions. We hope that she hires the best people that she can find, regardless of their friends, regardless of their black or white or whatever, that she finds the best people to run the city so that we benefit as residents.
So when you say we expect transparency, I mean, are we expecting it now, or have we always expected transparency?
Well, I think we've expected it. The problem with Duggan, have we had total transparency with Duggan? No, absolutely not. And that's, again, a combination of the media not being aggressive enough, but the media also not having enough resources to really, there's usually like maybe one person from City Hall. The Detroit News and the Free Press used to have 3-4 people stationed at City Hall all day long, walking up and down the halls and really covering that place and really scrutinizing the mayor, the city council. We don't have that same level of scrutiny anymore.
Okay, well, I'm going to go to some of these comments. I think I can get them. I'm going to do one of Jim's numbers. I'm going to go from the bottom up. First of all, I want to say good evening, Stephanie Jackson. Also, good evening, Tracy Huff and Angela Beatty. They are regular viewers of Detroit Black and White. Thank you so much. G Money Hollywood said I will say that she will have her hands tied with facing the past bankruptcy. She better employ a good accounting finance team to help with that business matter while working on improving the hoods. Ms. Suzuki says there are people waiting for food on East Outer Drive versus the lines at some of the voter precincts. Sheffield is going to send an olive branch to the surrounding suburbs, especially for the improvement of regional transit. That would be
great. That'd be great.
Eric Brown says, could it be that so many share the same? I don't know what he's talking about, but Kenneth Reed says we need energetic young people in government now this is their city as well. What you mean reporters hold back stories in a gotcha mentality? Terry McCrimmon is asking that question.
And then select your surface.
Ira says, is she the youngest in Detroit?
She's 38.
38.
How old was Kwame? I think Kwame was younger when he was first elected.
What's the reason? I'm thinking like 35 or something like that.
Yeah, I think Kwame might have been a little.
Yeah.
Young, there's no question. I mean, look, Duggan was probably in his 50s when he was elected mayor.
Yeah.
And then before that, Dave Bing was probably in his 60s, I would think.
Well, he looked older than that. I'm not trying to be funny, but
yeah, I mean, he's older, so she's definitely young. I mean, it's great if she's been around. She's been 12 years on the council. She knows how things work. She just has to make, a lot of it's who you hire, your chief of staff.
And you're going to have to show up and be accountable. That is something that you've said. We've said this on the show before. You're going to be, you're going to have to show up, and you're going to have to be held accountable. I mean, for the good, the bad, everything. G Money says, Vanessa, I don't think that the media is going to give her the third degree like you are predicting. They will work with her and give her grace because I'm sure she would carry out some of Mike D's vision.
Well, I think there should be a honeymoon period to some degree. You hope that all this late.
Well, I want to say, given that we've just heard that there's some other stories that's coming out. I don't know about that, G Money. We'll see. We'll see what the stories are about. Okay.
How about Miranda Wrights is out there? Hello to you. Thank you for your comment.
Yep. D Bragg 921. I'm already winning, and so are the three of you.
So is everybody.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's a nice positive comment. Thank you.
The one thing I will say, I'm glad that it's over. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. I was like, Jim, I got tired of talking about it. I'm like, I'm so glad it is over. And this is a new beginning. Let's hope Let's pray. Let's support. Let's support. Let's support. Let's get behind and say, hey, we got to do this. This thing has to work. This thing has to work.
What do you make of the consul races?
Well, the Denzel guy, he beat Karen Whitsett, which I'm happy about. I'll say that. She didn't show up for work with her state employment as a state representative. So I'm like, if you can't show up for that, I mean, really. So, and he really ran a good campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Roy McAllister,
lost.
He did not prevail. You know, I try not to use those words. I try not to use lost. He did not prevail. And he was out in the community, but the person that you say what?
I say he didn't win.
Yeah, he didn't prevail. The person that the incumbent that he was running against, people like her in the community. She really works really hard in the community. You can't say that she wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrone Carter, I supported Tyrone.
Mm-hmm.
And I've known Tyrone forever. I know his work ethic and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I hate to say it, but I was not surprised that he did not prevail. I did not. I'm saddened that he didn't prevail, but I was not surprised that he did not prevail. Who were the other people?
Kenneth Reed, the historian. Go ahead.
Yeah.
District 5, which is Mary Sheffield's old seat or current seat. Renata Miller beat Willie Burton, who's
good for her. I thought she was pretty impressive.
56 to 42%.
Yeah.
And then we had the second Tate ran on. I find it amazing that Tate had no opposition. Letitia Johnson in the 4th district had no opposition. And
Scott Benson.
And Scott Benson. So Scott Benson beat Cranstana Anderson 69 to 29%.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, Cynthia Johnson. Best wishes for the city of Detroit. We all feel that way. Miss Sheila has a question for you, Vanessa.
Yeah. Miss Sheila asked me, was I surprised Sylvia Jordan didn't win? Well, I saw the Sylvia. Was I surprised? I knew it was going to, I'll say this. I knew it was going to be a nail biter. I knew that it was going to be close. I felt like it was going to be close. That one was interesting because they had 1,000 spoiled ballots and it was a difference in 900 votes. So it was pretty close. I too I hope that Southfield is great. You know, I lived in Southfield for 32 years and I know both of the candidates. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. There were some things that came out that I had never heard before. At least I think Ken got an office where Mayor Cyber got an office in 2015. So I didn't start hearing things about the property and stuff like that till about 5 years ago, from a guy his name is Keith. They call him Mr. Southfield, and a lot of the residents started talking about that. I hope that Sylvia Jordan continues to work in Southfield. The fact that people called her and said, "Hey, we want you to run," that speaks volumes as far as I'm concerned, about who she is and what she represents. And just because she didn't prevail does not mean that she does not have a voice, and does not mean that she does not have influence. And so I'm hoping that she continues to, she lives in Southfield. She worships in Southfield. She didn't even talk about her church when she was on the show, but and she owns a business. So hopefully she will continue to be as active, if not more active, in the city of Southfield.
We had in Dearborn, the sitting mayor, Abdullah Hamoud, won. We had in Dearborn Heights, Mo Badwoon beat the challenger. And then in Pontiac, where there was kind of a hotly contested race, the Pontiac City Council President Mike McGinnis beat Kermit Williams 55 to 45%.
So our show historian says Kavanaugh is actually Mayor Kavanaugh was 33 years old when he first came in.
Oh, okay.
Tommy was 31 years old when he came in.
I
Hey, you
went
don't like my music? Where the heck have you been? Here come the progressives. We're glad to see you tonight.
Yeah.
Miranda Wright says they are watching, I should say. They are watching. Thank you, Miranda Wright.
So speaking of progressive, what you guys think? Well, two things. One, your opinion about the celebration about the blue wave. Again, I said there's nothing to celebrate when people are looking and it's the holiday season and they don't know whether or not they're going to have food on the table. And to me, it's nothing to celebrate when people are still out on a limb as it concerns their medical insurance. What do you guys think about this blue wave and the new mayor of the city of New York, the progressive?
I think the blue wave. I think it was somewhat heartening. I mean, if anything, it was a pushback to Donald Trump to remind him that not everybody loves how he's governing. And I think the Democratic Party, which saw itself as on life support, started to feel a little bit like maybe they could pull out the tubes, take a little walk, stroll down the hospital hall. I think it was strong. You know, in New York City, I mean, look, it's going to be interesting. Who knows? I mean, there's some really New York City is a particularly Manhattan, but even Brooklyn and now some of the other boroughs are expensive. And particularly Manhattan is, if you don't have money, forget about it, unless you want to, you're single and you live 4 people in a 1-bedroom apartment or something like that. So, I mean, he's addressing the issues that people want to hear. I mean, to be honest, I mean, I don't like his stance on Israel when he says, I believe in the state of Israel, but not as a Jewish state. Well, it's like saying I believe in Saudi Arabia, but not as an Islamic state. I don't really love that, but that's fine. I mean, he's certainly entitled to it. I mean, I think the only thing that as Jewish people in New York, they want to feel more secure. I mean, there's been so much anti-Semitism and stuff like that. They want to feel like he's going to protect them as well. And I think he will. So we'll see what happens. But he's also talking about taxing the rich, free bus service, freezing rents and all that kind of stuff. And, the problem is that you may chase away the wealthy and still it won't make it more affordable for people who are, have less money. So we'll see. I mean, things need to change. And,
he's more liberal than you, Allan.
You say he's more liberal than you. I had to laugh at that.
Yeah, it could be.
What do you think, Jim?
He is more liberal than me.
Well, here's what I think. First, Terry, this is a question for Allan. He can simmer on this one for just a second. What do you mean the reporters hold back stories in a gotcha mentality? I think the blue wave is not really a blue wave. If you know Virginia has been trending blue for some time. For a Democrat to win in New Jersey, people are surprised. I think that if things go according to the way they've always gone, the Democrats will pick up seats in the midterms.
Well, I think, though, that both states have had both Republican governors, and Democratic governors. So I think it was, for Trump to be down. Look, Trump, I don't know what he backed the New Jersey Republican, but he did not back the woman who's black, who's a Republican. And so some people said, oh, he doesn't like black women, or it may have been that she said, don't come to our state. You're very unpopular here in Virginia. I don't need you. And that's a possibility. It happened. So who knows what, but it could have went either way. So I think it wasn't like a shoe-in. I mean, it's the same thing like Michigan. Are we a blue state? I think we're more like a purple state.
So I do think that we're more like a purple state, but is it really a testament of people liking the individuals as opposed to a Democrat. That's why I asked the question: is it really a blue wave, or is it that these people really like those individuals and they just so happen to be a Democrat or whatever? I don't know. Um, I'm just throwing
Thank you,
that out
Miranda.
there.
Could be
I do want
both.
to ask, yeah, Miranda is a woman. I
Right,
do
she's a
want to
woman.
ask the question. We talk about nasty races. Did you guys pay attention to the race in Southfield with the city clerk? You had a write-in, and you also had a individual that was on the ballot, but the Democratic Party did not, approve of her because she was one of the people that was questioning the validity of the election and that kind of thing.
The
You talk
2020
about
race.
something that was very nasty. That was nasty as I don't know what, as well as the fight in Pontiac. So it got really dirty. People think that the race here in Detroit with the mayoral race was dirty, but those races were very, very dirty as far as I'm concerned.
I'll say
Okay.
the one thing in Virginia, there's a lot of federal workers, particularly
That's true.
in Northern Virginia, been
That's
laid
true.
off, who are not, either they've been laid off or they haven't been getting paid. So that did not help. I think some of it was a protest vote against Trump.
But Northern Virginia used to be, Manassas. Now it's Fredericksburg, right? If you
Right.
know the area at all,
Well,
it's almost Richmond and DC are almost connected. They're 100 miles apart or 90 miles apart, but it is getting bigger. That area is getting bigger and bigger, and it's a Democratic stronghold.
it has
I'm
become.
not surprised to see more Democrats representing Virginia in the House than there were in the last election.
Well, Virginia is usually now a blue state when it comes to presidential races. And it is because Northern Virginia, what's happened, a lot of the people in DC have moved to Northern Virginia because DC became too expensive. And now Northern Virginia is, fairly expensive, but you have to keep moving further and further out
Right.
to, the exurbs or whatever. But yeah, Virginia.
Tidewater area is Democrat. Richmond's Democrat. It's becoming more of a Democratic state for sure.
So, Miss Sheila, she says, forget about groups. Let's watch the individual behavior.
Yeah,
I
that's a good
think
point.
that's what the current mayor of the city of Detroit said. Listen, I'm going to forget about the group. I'm running as an independent for governor. He said, forget those doggone groups. But I do think in a lot of cases, people are like, I like the individual. You know what? Yeah, they say that they're Democrat, but I like what he or she is saying or what they stand for, and I'm going to vote for them. What's going to be interesting? What's happened with this guy in New York? I mean, he's extreme as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be very interesting what happens with him.
I worry that a lot of people are the wealthy are going to leave because they're like, why should we be taxed? And then you're going to be left with still expensive housing and stuff like that, where a lot of people can't afford to live in Manhattan anymore. I have friends in Brooklyn who say some of the prices in Brooklyn are now as expensive as Manhattan. And people are moving to Queens and this and that. The city is becoming, so it's a legitimate thing to try to figure out how do we make this a more livable city. But the question is, are his methods going to work?
So I have a question for the both of you and for all our colleagues out there. So we've talked about the new mayor-elect Sheffield. What is the responsibility of the people of Detroit? She can't do this by herself. She needs people to volunteer, be on some of these panels. Some of the brilliant people she cannot do it. It just can't be done, in my opinion, by she and her administration. We need a lot more input for success.
I agree. I mean, for those who felt like she was not that person, guess what? She is the person. And again, I started off saying this, and I'm going to end saying this. If she wins, we win. And how do we make sure that she wins? We have to support her. That does not mean that in supporting her, that does not mean that everything that she does, we're going to say rah, rah, rah. But we can't go into this thing being negative, right? It's boots on the ground, all hands on deck, as far as I'm concerned. Allan.
Well, yeah, and as Eric points out, I mean, when you have only 20% of the electorate, it's the same people electing, and there's 80% on the outside. Is it because the candidates aren't good enough, or they've given up on the, seeing change or hoping for change? I don't know what it is, but people fought for the right to vote, and I would think people would want to take advantage of that. So.
Well, people fought for the right to vote because they were inspired. They were motivated. People aren't motivated. People don't believe. Voter apathy is real. People don't believe what these politicians say. They believe what they see. And if they don't see anything has changed, why would I go out and vote for you or anybody else? That's what a lot of people are saying. And I will say in my household, I have one that is in and out. So he went on and participated because he didn't want to hear my mouth. But that generation, a lot of those people in his generation, they're like, look, it's the same old thing. Nothing changes.
But they don't want to. They don't want to run. But
they don't believe that their voice matters. Well, when they try to run, they get dogged out. You're too young. You don't know nothing. Oh, we don't like those ideas. I mean, what do? We don't encourage them. We don't support them. We don't.
Look at Mary. She's young. I mean, she started in the council 12 years ago.
Her father, her family did a good job in grooming her.
But there are possibilities, and you know what? It's not handed. It's a tough thing, as Reverend Kinlock has learned. It's not so easy to be a politician, And so,
we better get those statements there, Vanessa, before we leave the show.
Mr. Duncan said, I hope she does a job so well that I don't notice her daddy's still in. Lord have mercy. Stephanie Jackson says she bring the 3 highest candidates together to come up with a plan. Kenneth Reed said voter turnout is challenging in both cities in America. So true. G Money Hollywood says, Jim, you're right. I said earlier in a comment that I made is going to take Southeastern Michigan to help out as well.
And Lansing.
And Lansing, absolutely.
Yep. Jim, most of the East Coast vote Democrats, especially in the New York and New England states. The Atlantic Coast region is mixed. With that, I think we're hitting up against the 9:30. Actually, it's 9:33. So this is what we're going to ask you to do. We're going to ask you to join us again Friday evening at 8:30 p.m. Tell all your friends about the greatest show on these YouTube streets. Janet, overall, thank you so much. You join us all the time. You like, you subscribe, and share, and you tell your friends. We also want to tell those that are watching the show for the first time, thank you, thank you, thank you. Come back on Friday. We'll see you Friday. Love you, Jim. Love you, Allan. Love you, Adolph, if you're watching. We miss you. All right. Bye.